2022 has witnessed immense climate impacts around the world. Next month, world leaders will gather in Egypt for the United Nations Climate Summit known as COP27. Climate finance is expected to be high on the agenda. Time is running out to save the climate from the point of no return. Will the next COP meeting spur world leaders into action? This week, we highlight the vagaries of global warming on the continent.
The heavens opened up in West Africa. The much-anticipated rainy season was finally here, and it poured. Kogi State bore the brunt of the rains. Hundreds of homes were destroyed, thousands were left homeless, and roads were inaccessible after the worst flooding in a decade. 56-year-old Emmanuel Ajoru, Gaduma community resident, lost his home in the floods. It's the second time since 2012.
It's a serious situation. Only God will come to somebody's aid now. If not, I don't know. My mind now is discouraged, and I'm off life, as I can say.
Thousands of miles away in the north, Sudan was covered in a sea of water. This is Makelab in Sudan's River Nile state, some 400 kilometers north of the capital Khartoum. People recovered their belongings after floods caused by torrential rains killed at least 52 people and damaged or destroyed thousands of homes.
The floods were very heavy and instantly filled the streets of the neighborhood, and then the alleys and into houses. Yards, rooms inside houses, balconies, kitchens and storage rooms. The water was heavy and running. Only a few managed to save their furniture.
Since the start of the devastating rainy season, thousands of Sudanese families have been left homeless, sheltering under tattered sacking.
Autumn has just started, and people are worried that there will be more rains and there is no place to stay. Not all families have tents or shelters, and we are worried. And we are worried for the children's safety, as there are scorpions and snakes. People are worried about what the heavy rain could bring with it.
From the drenching north to the continent's drying plains of East and the Horn of Africa, at least 20 million people are affected by drought, with reduced access to nutrition, safe drinking water, education, health and protection. Of that, almost 900,000 children require treatment for severe and moderate acute malnutrition. The United Nations warned that Somalia, as well as Kenya's arid northern regions, are on the brink of famine for the second time in just over a decade.
This drought is different because it has been the longest. Our gods have died. People too have died of hunger. We no longer get development here nowadays. We just survive. There's even no water, no food.
From the blistering desert of Morocco to the south of the continent, lifestyle has become impossible to sustain as climate change brings ever more intense suffering. Kinshasa, Congo, climate representatives from more than 40 countries converged for the pre-COP27 conference, where they asked those gathered how Africa should contend with the dilemma of being responsible for only 4% of greenhouse gas emissions while having to make tough decisions to pursue green energy alternatives.
J'ose espérer que les échanges s'étendront.
I hope that the discussions will include the cases of the leading forces, the result of which has been some European countries returning to the use of polluting energy sources they had previously banned in order to avoid the incalculable consequences of an energy deficit imposed on them by the war in Ukraine.
Les conséquences incalculables d'un déficit en énergie.
Rich nations previously pledged to spend $100 billion a year on aid to poor nations to help them adapt to climate change and develop cleaner energy systems. Even those pledges, however, especially from the United States, have not been fulfilled.
Failure to act on loss and damage will lead to more loss of trust and more climate damage. This is a moral imperative that cannot be ignored, and COP27 must be the place for action on loss and damage.
Thousands of people will continue to die, especially in the most neglected continent in the world, if inaction persists. Climate catastrophe is real, and it's affecting Africa more than you can fathom. Bureau Report, World of Africa.